Carvajal, at a news conference yesterday, he announced the government of Dominica and the U.S. government has reached some agreement of finalizing an agreement to bring refugees into this country. And following that, we'll hear from Mr. Simeon Joseph, social scientist, speaking of the repercussions. Dominica, this is the talk on the block. And if it's on the block, we'll talk about this right after this. Coming back.
This is our first Global UNQ show for 2026, and we continue to engage with our local, regional, and global Q family listeners and friends of Dominica at home and abroad. With me Tuesday night is Justice Dr. Irving Andre, Social Scientist Simeon Joseph, Pastor Dr. Randy Rodney, Mr. Claudius Sanford, retired ASP Nicholas George, and former Dominica UN Ambassador Christine Gregoire. We will discuss national security and administrative accountability, crime and small arms proliferation, border security and police integrity, societal norms and tolerance which breed crime and undermine social stability and national security, and the implications for Dominica and the Caribbean of the U.S. invasion of Venezuela. So here are some issues and questions that we hope to deal with. Is there effective national security and accountability in Dominica? Is crime and small arms proliferation now rampant in Dominica, considering there were 24 homicides in 2025? Is there a problem with border security and police integrity in Dominica? Have societal norms and tolerance in Dominica been fostering crime and undermining social stability and national security? Do the government's policies reduce gun proliferation? Has the government held anyone accountable for importing drugs? Has enforcement of gun legislation in Dominica been successful? If not, why? What is the way forward? Is the government willing to take the guns from the little snipers? Is gun violence being used to intimidate persons opposed to the regime? However, as we begin, we will briefly look at the implications of the U.S. invasion of Venezuela and the capture of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife. What does governance of Venezuela look like going forward? Who is now in charge in Venezuela? And what are the implications for Dominica and the Caribbean? So tune in Tuesday night, the Global UNQ, 8 p.m. for more.
Whoa! It's all about Calypso quarterfinals on Saturday, 17th January 2026 at 8:30 p.m. at the Fraction Valley Road. 32 Calypsonians backed up by the Swingsters Band. Early bird tickets is only $30 online at Eventbrite. General admission $50. Sitting $60, VIP $100. Don't forget the date, January 17th, 2026 at 8:30 p.m. It's all about Calypso, Calypso, Calypso. Calypso quarterfinal, sponsored by Flo Dominica, Josephine Gabriel, Topita Water, Coca-Cola, Henneken Beer, Discover Dominica Authority, John Bay, Tomlet, Fresh Market, Doing Center, BB Rum, Big Edge, Perkins Pizza, ICWI, Vibian TV, Kyrie FM, BBS Radio, Vines Radio, and QFM. There's some you got to be there.
Share a crunch this Christmas with KFC's Festive Feast. Only $55 gets you 5 pieces of chicken, 4 hot barbecue wings, 2 regular fries, 2 biscuits, 2 16-ounce drinks. Win big with KFC's buckets of giving. A laptop, a smartphone, $1,000 cash prize, $200 US Amazon gift card, and so much more. Purchase a Festive Feast bucket in the store at the drive-thru or on delivery and write your name and number on the back of your receipt. Terms and conditions apply. KFC, it's finger licking good.
Somebody buy blue water. Somebody bring blue water. Somebody get blue water. Ready now. When you feel the man, take a blue water spray. If you need your hand, take a blue water spray. Take a blue water spray. Keep up your water. Somebody buy blue water. Somebody bring blue water. Somebody get blue water. Blue water.
Locally distributed by Fine Foods Inc.
The United States and the Congo Dominica have entered into an agreement to facilitate third country refugees to be sent to Dominica to mitigate scenarios where the United States cannot return these individuals to their state of birth or origin. In our discussions with the State Department, there have been careful deliberations of the need to avoid receiving violent individuals or individuals who will compromise the security of Dominica. This has been acknowledged and well received by the State Department. Given the importance of bilateral relations between the United States and the Congo Dominica, I, as Prime Minister and Head of Government, believe it is important to find key points of agreement and compromise between our countries. This engagement is based on our responsibility to safeguard the well-being of our people, particularly their access to lawful travel, education, employment, and family connections, while strengthening cooperation between our two governments. I believe this will further deepen our long-standing relationship and signal clearly that Dominica remains a willing and reliable partner of the United States in our region. Let us, as we start this new year, we must choose steady reflection, not heightened emotion. This is a time for clear thinking, not division. Our country has faced challenges before, and we have always met them with resilience, dignity, and a deep sense of responsibility to one another. Let us begin this new year by lowering the temperature of our national discourse, choosing calm over conflict, and remembering that we are strongest when we stand together. This new year must also renew our shared commitment to nation building, above and beyond political and personal differences. Political views may differ, but our love for country must remain greater than any division.
Let me say two things there. One on principle, that's the first thing, and one on, how you call it now, that covers many other areas, i.e. accountability, transparency, and all those things that you could match with governance. And I'm always about good governance, and that is the kind of thing. But Matt, let me say as a preamble that Dominica is a Christian nation. Dominicans are welcoming people. And out of the goodness of our heart, we ought to be open to be welcoming people in distress, people from other countries who may be going through whatever persecution in their own land. And so it would be good that as Dominicans, in essence, because of the nature of our personality and the fact that we are a Christian country, we extend open arms to those who are in distress and seeking refugees and other kinds of ways of means of improving themselves. But Matt, on another level, when you heard yesterday that there was an announcement that Dominica entered into an agreement with the United States to facilitate the transfer of third-party refugees to our island to address situations in which the U.S. is unable to return these individuals to their country of birth or origin. That statement is loaded of concerns, loaded of many concerns, because when you say, okay, that you enter an agreement with the United States, and the main purpose is to address situations in which the United States is unable to return these individuals to their country of birth and origin, what could be those situations that would allow for people not to be able to return to their country? And why would it be the richest country in the world, the most affluent, a country that provides more opportunities for people the world over, in compared to Dominica that is struggling, for the people of Dominica who cannot even live? Hundreds of Dominicans are living in Dominica, but they just cannot see their way. They just cannot make ends meet. They just cannot see themselves living healthy, fruitful, productive, gainful, happy lives in Dominica compared to the United States. Why would the United States not be able to deal with refugees who cannot return to their birth or origin? That's what the Statue of Liberty is for. That's what Ellis Island is about. That's what America is founded on. But apart from that, there are certain major concerns in the statements that the Prime Minister has said, and I want to identify a few of them. You know, it seems to me at the heart of that agreement is to allay or defer the sanctions that have been placed on Dominica by the United States. So is that the best agreement we could come up with? Because the United States has placed sanctions on Dominicans, that we can say, okay, to make that better.
Make it right.
All right? Yeah. We're going to invite refugees. Is it the refugees that caused Dominica to be on the refugee? Isn't it the CBI passport?
Great question. Great question, yes.
That caused Dominicans to be on that list? It's not about refugees. Okay? Remember in 1996, we had the situation of the Egyptian politician who was being persecuted, Al-Masari. And people rose arms and he was not allowed to come to Dominica. That was a legitimate situation. There was somebody facing persecution in their own land. How is that before? Today, we never opened our doors. First of all, let us look at it. The amount of Dominicans who are against Haitians coming to Dominica, who are fleeing persecution and poverty in their own land. I have never heard the government of Dominica make a strong statement to welcome the Haitians into Dominica as they are doing now. There are so many other people all over the world who are experiencing persecution. We have never done that. So what kind of trade-off is there when you are saying, because the United States has placed sanctions, we are going to import refugees into Dominica? It is not the refugees, and I will say it again, that have allowed Dominica to be on the list that it is. And so the Prime Minister began by saying, and you see, he had discussions with the USA. That's very important and very salient. So you had discussions with the USA. Why? In light of the December 16th proclamation, right? That had the partial visa. So that is the reason why you went to the discussions to bring those people into Dominica. And he went on to say Dominica has been engaged in ongoing dialogue with the United States on matters of mutual interest. After 23 years in Dominica, Matt, can you tell me one tangible, visible, productive, forward-thinking, right, dialogue that this government has given to the people of Dominica based on their relations with the United States of America? Can you show me one investment if all this dialogue? So you mean to tell me after 23 years, that is the best dialogue you can have with the United States for mutual interest, the richest country in the world? You mean to tell me there are no other educational, sporting, cultural, medical, other areas that you could enter into the government of Dominica mutually? We had Ross University, which was an American university, that could have brought so much mutual benefit and interest to Dominica. That place could have been developed into an offshore medical facility for best of it. That is, and the United States has so many medical universities. That is the best you could come up with for Dominica. And you are saying that in his statement that the agreement reached on one of the primary areas of collaboration. That is the only primary area of collaboration you could enter into with the United States for Dominica, when there are so many opportunities, manufacturing, IT, AI, medicine, nursing, all those kind of things, that the construction of perhaps the extension of our Deepwater Harbor, the construction of perhaps of our cruise village, the construction perhaps of so many other things, enhancement of our hospital. That's the primary area of collaboration to bring deportees to Dominica. And he went on to say again, the USS Dominica has entered into agreement to facilitate third country representatives to be sent to Dominica, where Dominica can meet, listen to this man, in his statement, where Dominica can mitigate scenarios where the USA cannot return these individuals to their state of birth or origin.
Can you imagine that?
The United States, the country that can go into Venezuela, overthrow government, kidnap a president, bring him to America to stand trial. You are telling me that you are saying you can mitigate scenarios where the USA cannot return. You can go into countries the world over and bomb them and overthrow governments, and you cannot. The United States hasn't got the capacity, okay, to return individuals to the state of their birth of origin. You support Israel to bomb Syria, okay? And you want to go over there and say you're going to develop a top of the world, that Syria, when rebuilt, will be the envy of the world. And you come and tell me that is what the agreement you want to enter in Dominica? So much in that statement is one of concern. And the Prime Minister said again that discussions, there were careful deliberation of the need to avoid necessary violent individuals or individuals who will come to Dominica and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So after all those passports we have sold to criminals. Now, one of the things, Matt, that I'm not sure, I don't know if you remember, on the 18th of February this year, in one of the Prime Ministers...
You mean last year?
2025, he said, Dominica, he revealed that he's working on documentation for Dominican deportees from the United States. And I don't know if you remember, during that press conference, he said that President Donald Trump was intensifying his crackdown on immigration, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. And they had recognized that there were about 3 to 4 Dominicans, I think that was the statement that was made, whereby what do you call it now? That they had 3 to 4 Dominicans who were in custody to be sent back home, and they were facilitating the documentation. Mm-hmm. The question is, after 11 months, this government cannot facilitate the documentation to bring down 3 Dominicans. So how are they going to facilitate the documentation to bring down all those deportees from the United States that we don't know? Your own people, has there been any update on that? The Prime Minister also continued that they have been advised by the U.S. government that there are about 104 Dominicans that have been identified who would be served eviction notices, and he would update that as soon as possible. So what happened to those 104 Dominicans who were supposed to be deported? If you cannot facilitate as a country, that question has to be asked, you know. And he was also, one of the things that was stated is that in that thing, the Prime Minister was also saying that they are looking to fill in the position of a general counsel in New York as a priority to work with the State Department, ensuring that those Dominicans and Dominicans to be deported were deported. What is the status of that? What is the status of that? And not only that, Matt, another concerning statement. The Prime Minister went on to say that given the importance of bilateral relations between USA and the Commonwealth of Dominica, as Prime Minister head of government, believe it is important to find key points of agreement between our countries. Where is Cabinet? Where is the Ministry of External Affairs? Where's the Minister of Foreign Affairs? As Prime Minister and head of government. So was that a unilateral decision on his part? In that statement yesterday, I will repeat. He says, given the importance of the bilateral relations between USA and the Commonwealth of Dominica, these are 2 countries, not 2 heads of state. I quote, I, as PM and head of government, believe it is important to find key points of agreement between the two countries. Matt, what kind of foreign relations blunder is that? What kind of foreign relations fiasco is that? So the Prime Minister can just go to the United States and enter into bilateral relations. He's not the Minister of Foreign Affairs. He's not cabinet. Nothing has been brought to the Parliament of Dominica for ratification. So he alone has done that? No. Another statement in the statement, he said, this engagement is based on our reciprocity to safeguard the well-being of our people, particularly as it occurs. That is a catch. That is a catch. This access to lawful travel for education, employment, family connections, while we try to enhance cooperation between the government of Dominica and the government of USA. So, Matt, what kind of trade-off is that? What kind of negotiations happen behind the scenes to come to the determination that the Prime Minister can enter into an agreement with the United States to send deportees to Dominica? Because at the heart of the statement and how you decipher it, that is what is said. That because the beginning of the statement, it says so, and I quote again, in light of the December 16th proclamation. And at the end of the statement, it is saying again that this engagement is based on our reciprocity to safeguard the well-being of our people, particularly their access to lawful things. So there's a connection. There's a connection to the ban on Dominicans being able to access visa and access the United States properly with what is happening today. Is that the best trade-off we could have gotten for that? Nowhere are we hearing anything about that they're going to reconsider the issue of the fact that because passports and CBI passports and so were given to questionable people, there is going to be some remediation, review, some kind of thing of that agreement to ensure that it does not happen in the future and Dominicans do not face, because even after you deport all those people to America, we are still facing possible ban from the EU. We still cannot go to the Holland, and Dominicans who to go up on Martinique are still facing the possibility of being denied the Schengen visa to access these very close countries. So that doesn't ameliorate the situation. And so for us to just be gullible, to just think, well, okay, and that can happen. And the Prime Minister ended by saying, I believe this will further deepen our long-standing relationship, signaling clearly that Dominica remains a willing and reliable partner of the USA in the region. So is a shift in his allegiance from China and Venezuela to the United States, that Dominica remains a willing and reliable partner of the United States in our region. Isn't that too little too late? All the time we were hearing that it is China, it is Venezuela, it is Cuba, it is Morocco, it is Tajikistan. These were the countries that were being touted and promoted. If not CBI, what? Petrocari. That was their sim song. China hospital, China airport, China school, China this, China that. What has been the history, right, of the reliable and willing partnership between Dominica in the region with the United States over the past 23 years? Dominicans have to ask themselves the question, man. I think, quite frankly, really and truly, we have come to the stage of really a watered-down government in Dominica. And listening to the tone of the Prime Minister yesterday, I am of the strongest opinion that his back is against the wall. And so Dominicans now are being thrown that, dog bone with no meat on it for them to bite on. Because you know something, Matt? From a Christian perspective, I began from that. People are not cargo to be rejected, packaged, and shipped to countries all over the world where they don't belong. Right? This was, in essence, was the principle and the philosophy of slavery, of indentured labor, when people from strange and foreign lands were uprooted from where they are and sent to countries where they do not know, and that kind of thing. Now, when they come to Dominica, Who's going to be responsible to them? What is the financial package that the United States is going to give to house them, to feed them, to provide employment and transportation and food and shelter and all of that? Is that going to be at the expense of the taxpayers of Dominica? Or is it going to be some form of trade-off where, again, we'll be receiving money from the United States for that kind of what you call criminal, in my opinion, inhumane, in my opinion, slave mentality principle of the United States, who wants to re-establish its hegemony, because Donald Trump said that. He spoke about the Monroe Doctrine. Now, when Dominicans go back in history and think of the Monroe Doctrine and the impact it had on the Western Hemisphere and the rest of the world, we have to be very careful. And so, what kind of agreement is there? I am not saying that we cannot open our doors to people in need, people in want, people who have been rejected, people who in their homelands, but we have never done it before. If anything, we have been very much averse to foreigners coming in Dominica. We chant them down, we say the worst things about them. Look at all the things we say about the Haitians, our own black brothers and sisters from the very neighboring country who are desperately in need. For you to tell me we possibly going to have people from the Middle East and people from Latin America and people just coming to Dominica and being deported because the United States says they don't want them. And we say that is the best kind of collaboration we could enter in the United States, the richest country in the world. Where is the hotel that Mr. Henderson and Mr. Skerry promised us in 2009 that Donald Trump was going to build in Portsmouth? Remember that statement? Where is it? So if you have that connection with the man, make sure if all the money he has gotten, his wealth has increased from 2 billion to 6 billion since he became president of America. The bilateral relationship we should have is we should have them building our roads and our bridges and our schools and our clinic and fixing our colleges. And not only that, we should enter an agreement to make sure that 100 of Dominicans, 200 Dominicans receive scholarships every year to go to the United States. That our musicians and our artists and all our entrepreneurs would receive markets and the opportunity for them to perform in the United States and for them to sell their produce. And that we'd enter into an agreement with Walmart and Publix and all those big countries there so that the small entrepreneurs in Dominica could have a market whereby they can manufacture expansion of their products and sell it to the United States on the shelves. That's the kind of collaboration we need with the United States of America. Okay? And you could enter into a facilitation whereby maybe you could even have an embassy in Dominica. Let me see them do that. So Dominicans have to spend $1,000, $2,000 to go and get a stamp on a visa in Barbados. That's the kind of collaboration we need to have. And so we cannot have a government that is not acting on behalf of the people, who are continuously doing things in its own interest at the whims and fancies of the head of government, while the people of Dominica are made to bear the brunt of the mistakes of the government.
So the Prime Minister of Dominica has just announced to the world that he's entered into an agreement of mutual interest between Dominica and the United States. And that agreement is for the United States to be able to send refugee deportees who cannot be resettled in their country of origin to Dominica. Now, first of all, how is that an issue of mutual interest? These individuals are not Dominicans. These individuals are not Caribbean people. So it's not like it's CARICOM individuals in Haiti, for example. These individuals don't have relatives or ties to Dominica. They're refugees in America that could be from any country in the world. They could be from Afghanistan, for all we know. And these individuals, we've entered into an agreement to send them to Dominica. Is Dominica a trash heap where you just send people that you don't have anywhere else to send? And the Prime Minister of the country enters into an agreement which is in violation of the immigration laws of the country. He hasn't approached the Parliament of the country to introduce legislation to make it legal for this to happen. He has simply bypassed all checks and balances to put Dominicans at a disadvantage. But should we be surprised? No, this is a government that has sold tens of thousands of passports to individuals around the world with no ties to Dominica. If it wasn't for the United States, they wouldn't even have introduced a requirement for them to reside in Dominica to receive their passports. They've sold the country out to Chinese interests. They've been so reckless in their due diligence and their execution of their policies that Britain has put visa restrictions on Dominica. The EU has contemplated visa restrictions on Dominica. The United States has suspended visa application for Dominica, making the life of the ordinary Dominica more difficult and more challenging to navigate. And now the Prime Minister is announcing, in light of all of these failures, that he's opening the floodgates to refugees without any parliamentary oversight, without any plan to facilitate their integration into the community, without any plan to facilitate their housing, their public services, the education of their children, the language barriers. We don't know who these people are. We've effectively lost control of our border and therefore control of our sovereignty. The only solution is for Dominicans to wake up and remove this madman from the helm of Dominican governments.
All right, Dominica, we just heard there Tyrell Douglas was the international secretary for the UPP in Dominica. And before that, social scientist Mr. Simeon Joseph. A lot more, of course, we'll share in a while. But on the line, monitoring very closely, is Mr. Rijok, who says our Prime Minister is trying to curry favors with the United States government. Mr. Rijok, good afternoon to you. How are you doing?
Good afternoon, Matt, and good afternoon, people of Dominica.
What's your take on the Prime Minister signing that agreement there for refugees?
Well, listen, what all of the people who have been at the time are saying is correct. He can't do that because he's going to need legislation to enable such a thing to happen. Dominica, like all countries, has its own immigration and naturalization laws. People in that don't speak English and who may be from Asia or some other part of the world and who don't have any skills and could not provide for anything to stay in Dominica, that's creating an underclass in the country. What are these people going to do? They're going to be homeless? What will happen to them? Or will they take jobs from Dominicans? And will there be violence? Will there be problems? I understand that the Prime Minister says, oh, no, we're not taking anybody with criminal records. But in the United States, these very minor criminal matters don't necessarily show up for people that are deported. There's another issue, too, that nobody's talking about. Remember, the big scandal with Americans deporting people to El Salvador was that the American government paid the Salvadoran government millions of dollars to take them. Is there money changing hands here and it's not being disclosed? The whole thing just really, frankly, it sounds like it's illegal, and it sounds like it's within the purview of your parliament to debate and rule upon, and if they can't enable it and sustain it and agree to it, it shouldn't happen. You know, this all came about in yesterday's question time to the Prime Minister, where he spent 55 minutes basically, besides this, talking about just about nothing other than trying to cover up the fact that he was frankly incensed by my articles identifying his illegitimate son Malik as carrying around a passport from diplomatic relationships with Dominica into the United States when he is not qualified to ever hold such a passport. He's 26 years old. He's not a dependent who lives within the Scarrett family. He is not at all a minor child that is entitled to have a diplomatic passport. And here's the real problem. Any person in the United States with a diplomatic passport to qualify has to be approved by the State Department, and his particular job and where he's working, whether it's the embassy, the consulate, or at the United Nations, has to be described. He's just running around the United States, God knows where, because he can't be 26 years old and still be in university. He's running around the United States. He did not have to get a student visa to come in because he came in with a diplomatic passport. That is clearly illegal. And I call on ICE, our government agency which deals with illegals, to deport him back to Dominica where he belongs. Because I have a sneaking suspicion that his immediate departure from Dominica after he was involved in that fatal auto accident was so he would never have to deal with questions from the Commonwealth of Dominica police. So he's having a really rough day to explain things as of yesterday, and I was very unhappy and unsatisfied with most of his answers.
But tell me though, are these persons there, are they deportees or refugees? That's a fundamental question.
These people are not refugees. These are people who either overstayed their visitor's visa or came under some other conditions and are not here legally, and they are technically illegal, not even immigrants. They're illegals who are staying in the United States. The fact is that even if they get something as minor as a drunk driving charge, that might be grounds for them to be removed. And also, some people are losing their green card, their legal residency card, and then being deported. But I guarantee you that if you get 200 people coming into Roseau, that they're going to be from places far, far away from the Western Hemisphere, and they are not going to be fluent in English, nor will they have any serviceable skills. They're going to be a drain on your economy, and they're going to be a security issue.
Because actually, I reported on a situation there a couple of weeks ago as it relates to a Syrian national who had a Dominican passport and a visa with that. And of course, he was apprehended in the airport in Boston, and he was, of course, detained and sent back to Dominica because he carried a Dominican economic passport. So we will have, I suspect, a lot of these people coming back to Dominica because they carry a Dominican passport.
They may be carrying CBI passports from any one of the Eastern Caribbean states, any one of the 5, and they may just be, for political reasons, considered to be undesirable and deported. You know, remember this. History tells us that if you were to take a list of everybody with the CBI passport, you're going to find a hell of a lot of Russians, Iranians, Syrians from when Syria was on the blacklist, and even North Korea and China. So there are going to be some real surprises when that plane shows up in Dominica and a bunch of really, sordid characters get off and are saying, well, your prime minister says we can live here. So how about you fix us up with an apartment? We want a salary every month. We want a car. We may want to travel around town, and we may need spending money. Who knows where this is going to go, but it's not the prime minister's remit to do this. This is the responsibility and the obligation of Parliament to determine whether or not to change your immigration laws to let in people from third countries.
Kenneth Ridgwick, again, thank you very much for putting that perspective here. I will continue to take your phone calls in a minute. Let's listen to Mr. Joshua Francis again, who spoke this morning before we take calls. Yes.
We have started in a rather good way. We are alive. We're in the land of the living. But from a national point of view, we continue to be harbored with a political cancer in Dominica. And the behavior of the leader of our government continues to want to take us for a ride, always trying to stir emotions, to blind us, and to lead us. But thankfully, the good Lord keeps opening our eyes. More and more Dominicans are coming to see the light and coming to draw the conclusion that it is time for a change of government. At yesterday's press conference, I did not have the privilege to hear everything as I was in court. But once I got wind of certain materials which were divulged in the public, once again, myself and the executive of the United Progressive Party expressed great concerns about the utterances of the Prime Minister, several of them, but this morning, on the issue of the third-party refugees, whereby the government of Dominica has stated it has entered into a unilateral agreement with the United States of America to facilitate third-party refugees. Matt, Now I heard you spoke about whether those are deportees or refugees. There is a fundamental difference. It could be a play of words. A deportee is one who is forcibly removed from his country for several reasons. So if a citizen or someone who has a green card, as in the case of the United States, were to find himself into problems, he can be removed by a court order. And a refugee, one usually is one who flees from his country out of fear for political persecution or reprisals or some oppression. So in the case where the Prime Minister spoke about third-party refugees, it is taken to mean that those are persons who sought refuge in the United States of America, may have received successful refuge, and the Trump administration has decided to remove them from the United States, and places like Dominica, as the Prime Minister stated, is prepared to facilitate and welcome those persons. But Matt, there are several concerns about that. First of all, one would have thought, as the Prime Minister said, we are starting the year and we should start with reflection. The Prime Minister should have led by example. And if the Prime Minister had done proper reflection and to keep up to what he says, that a government of transparency, this matter would have been taken to Parliament for debate. This matter would have been dealt with consultation with the people of Dominica. This matter would have been brought to the fore a long time ago to get Dominicans' views on the matter. What we have seen is a betrayal of our democratic principles in Dominica. This is a government that takes decisions which requires consultation with the people of Dominica, and where the government fails to do that, it then informs the public. And that's what happened yesterday. The Prime Minister simply came to inform Dominicans that he, as the man in charge, has made that decision, disregarding the fact that such a decision could have serious social and economic implications for the people of Dominica. So as a party, we raised several concerns such as national security. How many individuals will this government take? Where are they from? What are their backgrounds? Do we have any policy in respect to who will take and who will not take? Is there a screening process in place? Will there be a background check on every refugee or deportee? What are their backgrounds? Have we armed our police and our social institutions with the necessary resources to accept and house these people? And then in respect to housing, where are they going to be accommodated, Matt? Do we have enough housing? Yes, the government has embarked on social housing. Where are these people going to be housed? What impact are they going to have on our economy, the employment and economic impact? Can the country absorb these people? As I said, their numbers are important. Is it just a few dozens of people, a few hundreds of people? Where are they going to be absorbed in our economic space? Will they push out or crowd out locals? Will they bring any meaningful contribution to the economic landscape of Dominica? What financial arrangements, Matt, have been made? Are we getting compensation for that arrangement? Is it that the government of Dominica decided to enter such an arrangement to appease the United States of America in an effort for the U.S. to lift visa restrictions on Dominica? Is that what it's about? Is this really humanitarian? Is this a diplomatic move by the government of Dominica to correct its wrongs? What about cultural integration? Are these people able to live, or are we able to live in harmony and coexist with these people, not knowing who they are, where they're coming from, what are their numbers? Will this cause social instability? Now, so there are several questions one can ask. And clearly, this agreement has the potential to further destabilize our nation, economically and socially. So I would like that Dominicans pay attention to these developments and several other developments which will have ramifications for the people should this agreement be executed. We ought not to continue to allow this government to make decisions for and on our behalf without our involvement. This is undemocratic, especially at a time where we're seeing global shifts, at a time where we are living in an age of uncertainty. Our government has to be more responsible and more accountable. And therefore, it would have been appropriate for the government to provide detailed information and financial compensation and support mechanisms, if any. The people of Dominica deserve better. We don't deserve a government that continues to work in secrecy and when it is convenient to inform us as to its actions. We should have had parliamentary debate as stated, scrutiny of this argument. We don't know what are the terms, what are the references. We have absolutely no information except to be informed that the government of Dominica has entered into such an arrangement.
We have read many stories, of course, quoting the Prime Minister. Dominica's Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit described the agreement as one of the primary areas of collaboration between two governments following recent U.S. entry restrictions imposed on the Dominican nationals. Skerrit said he has been in ongoing discussions with the U.S. after the White House announced partial visa limitations announced on December 16th. But if you follow, he declined to provide details on how many asylum seekers could be sent to Dominica or when the transfers might begin. Very interesting observation there. The afternoon time, 2:01, as we continue to explore this issue of refugees, quotes, deportees. Hello, talk to me, yes? That's the question being asked. Yes, hello? Afternoon to you.
Matt, how are you?
How are you, my brother? How are you? Good to hear you.
Right, thank you. How is Franklin Moses doing?
He's doing fine. The last I, of course, saw him.
So here we go again, finding ourselves in a quagmire created by Roosevelt Skerrit, a man who has proclaimed to the world that he doesn't give a damn about law and constitution. He is king. He has ordained himself king supreme of Dominica. And he can violate all rules and protocols and laws and take decisions to save his personal back and endanger, put Dominica at the risk and endangerment of a situation that he has created. You know, when you make decisions without proper thought and inviting, the idea is to involve wise people around you when you're going to make decisions. When you make decisions, rash decisions, we're paying attention to the consequences. Like everything else Roosevelt Skerrit and his government have been doing over the past years. Not planning, not thoroughly sorting out things, working things out. That's going to result in consequences, disastrous consequences, not only for Roosevelt Skerrit, because he's going to suffer the consequences of this disaster that he has created, but unfortunately for us Dominicans who did not create the circumstances which caused him to go and beg Donald Trump to forgive me, please, Massa, and I will take, he calls them refugees. But as Rijok explained to you, these are not refugees. These are deportees. These are people that the government of America doesn't wish to have. They may not be criminals, but they have probably violated their immigration status. And as a result, Donald Trump is throwing them out of America. And as Simeon the Sage explained, if America, the world's richest country, the world's most resourced country, cannot find places in America to keep these people and stuff like that, how are we in Dominica with a myriad of crazy things happening? Lack of resources, lack of employment, all these problems we have, real problems. How are we, a small 2x4 country that has been so badly run by Roosevelt and his regime for over 20 years, how are we going to find it possible to safely and to productively accommodate these people? So no thought and planning. He probably didn't even invite the clappers. Those were persons that were at the press conference clapping yesterday. Probably did not even involve them in a conversation. And as has been pointed out, there are ministers in government responsible for foreign affairs, international affairs. What role did they play? What advice did they give him? Or did he declare and designate himself king of all and make that decision? And now he comes in at the conference and plays on our emotions. Oh, persons who disagree with him are being emotional. Let's move forward as a country, patriotic to our country, a patriot. But he has violated all these things because he has made a unilateral decision to disrespect the Constitution of Dominica, to disrespect the rights of Dominicans to know what the details of such a major decision. So here we go. And you know what sadly I believe? That Roosevelt Skerrit is going to, whatever people say or do, he doesn't care. He has put us in a deep hole. And he doesn't care. He thinks that he will extricate himself by taking in those so-called refugees. And he doesn't care because he has stated it already. No law, no constitution will prevent me, Roosevelt Medard Skerrit, from doing what I want in Dominica. So we have, as a country, to stand up against that decision and make it known to Skerrit that we are more patriotic than he is. Because he cannot make a decision like that for us. There are 40,000 Dominicans who have a right to express a view, who have a right to hold a position in Dominica. And he cannot be the king appointed to make all decisions for us. Thank you for allowing me to vent. I hope Dominicans can stand up to that decision because it's going to be disastrous. And Roosevelt will feel it. Thank you very much, my brother.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you, as always. Thank you very much.
Matt, I have no more words to put in my mouth than to say Skerrit is a real madman to even think about that. It's mad people are not thinking, so you can be a refugee in a country. At this time when the country is in crisis, the Caribbean is in crisis, banana industry in crisis, tourism industry in crisis. You want to bring refugees in Dominica? Skerrit is a madman, real madman.
It's all about Calypso quarterfinals on Saturday, 17th January 2026 at 8:30 p.m. at the Fraction Valley Road. 32 Calypsonians backed up by the Swingsters Band. Early bird tickets is only $30 online at Eventbrite. General admission $50. Sitting $60. VIP $100. Don't forget the date, January 17th, 2026 at 8:30 p.m. It's all about Calypso, Calypso, Calypso. Calypso quarterfinals, sponsored by Flo Dominica, Josephine Gabriel, Tropita Water, Coca-Cola, Heineken Beer, Discover Dominica Authority, Jungle Bay, Tomlet, Fresh Market, Do It Center, BB Rum, Big Edge, Perkins Pizza, ICWI, Vibian TV, Kyrie FM, BBS Radio, Vines Radio, and QFM. There's some you got to be there.
Fresh market. When money don't count and the pocket doesn't hurt you. A fresh market. Fresh market. It's a fine day.
We are open 7 days a week with the top of the line products. Well stocked supermarket and pharmacy, health and beauty care, fresh produce and meats prepared daily, hot and cold kitchen, ready to go meals, sandwiches, salads, and desserts at your fingertips. Easy access, located on the bayfront, environment friendly, and our staff are approachable and ready to assist. Have you figured out who we are? You got it. Fresh your one stop.
Where money don't count and your pocket doesn't hurt you. Fresh market, fresh market, never disappointed. Fresh market.
Big news, Dominica! Do It Center is now even closer to you with the opening of Do It Center Express, conveniently located on Cork Street, right next to Fresh Market. Get all your home improvement essentials fast with everything from tools and paints to home decor and more. Plus, enjoy the same great service you know and trust. Now, just a quick stop in the city. Visit us today at Do It Center Express, your partner in home improvement, now closer than ever.
Dominica, Q95 Radio is opened for your business in collaboration with the National Development Foundation of Dominica. Get ready to join Q95 Radio and NDFD for Nature Island Small Business Buzz, a live radio program bringing in empowerment to small business ideas and entrepreneurs across Dominica every Tuesdays and Thursdays from 4 to 5 p.m., offering a unique national platform for small, medium, and growing business enterprises in Dominica. Together, we'll aspire to connect, advertise, learn, collaborate, and witness small business entrepreneurs thrive and succeed in the fertile broadcasting soil of Q95 along with the NDFD. Join us on our journey every Tuesdays and Thursdays from 4 to 5 p.m. One unbroken, exciting hour of free Q95 Radio small business promotion as together we explore all the challenges, the setbacks, the setups, the comebacks, stories, the history, the startups, the breakthroughs, the financing, the sweat, the toil, the sleepless nights, the heartbreaks, the triumphs, the business plan, the overall success in pursuing your small business dream come true in the Commonwealth of Dominica. Join veteran broadcaster Franklin Peter Moses and Mr. Donald Bocasio, highly skilled, qualified, sought after business and entrepreneurial manager, small business development expert, and strategic business coach. Together, we're taking you and your small business to the pinnacle of success in the Dominican economic landscape. So don't miss Nature Island Small Business Buzz every Tuesdays and Thursdays right here on Q95 Radio, the big station.
All right, already 2:10. Another opinion here. Matt Skerritt knows for a fact that he'll be indicted by the U.S. authorities anytime they're ready for him. Do anything America asks to do. So he wants to ensure he's not picked up. But no matter what, Skerritt will have his turn. We have to see Skerritt on the TV in his orange jumpsuit, his white socks and white t-shirt, just like Maduro. Just an opinion. From a text message here, 211. Yes, talk to me.
Mato,
Yes, how you doing?
there. See me, say no Dominica do nothing.
Nothing, okay.
Nothing going on now. No justice. I'm not voting because I don't get justice for my son. I don't want to. I cried yesterday. They're trying to be mass. If you have a problem within your country, and it is in another country, all you have talks. You're not supposed to. Okay, we talk about that. Let me go to the people because it's not good for you.
True.
And then when you come, you talk to the people, you hear their views, and you will go back with what they tell you. But Matt is not being a criminal. Matt, I cannot run. I cannot fight so much. Matt, will give me headache. I already have enough headache. Will give me more headache. Matt, what criminals going to Dominica to do? What else of money? Why don't they open some place in the world? I don't know whether they'll have people and put them there. Why is Dominica not have nothing that must come here? Matt, sister doesn't have a headache. Matt, that is not good. He don't come to us and say, well, what you think? Dominica have a lot of educated people. They could come with you, discuss of it. You only take it as if Dominica is your children. Scary, think about that better. I know, Matt, Thomas Durant, I'm not for that. I cannot fight and I cannot run. We already started here to get strategies already. Please don't make me fall down and die before my time in that country. I don't hate you, but you need to think and think straight. Mato, I love you. I love Blessing, Blue, all of what I was talking. As if I want to be a little cool for them because I cannot deal with what I hear going on. Love all you, eh?
I love you too, Ness. Love you. Of course, fear comment there. 13. Let's listen to another political leader, Mr. Ito.
Matt, this development is very of this agreement, quote, quote, to allow refugees and or deportees, third-party deportees into Dominica is extremely alarming. And I think all of us have been expressing that. The process by which this agreement was arrived at is flawed. And it has been clearly stated by many others. I will not need to further expand on that. It is obvious that such a monumental decision that can affect the fundamental character of Dominican society, that can affect the safety of Dominican society, that can affect the global reputation of Dominican society should be a well thought out, multi-party discussion, multi-society discussion, maybe even have some level of a referendum from the Dominican people on whether such a dramatic move is justified. That I don't need to add much further on that. I think it's obvious to any Dominican that much more extensive collaborative discussions are necessary before we embark on what I see as a dangerous path. Further, we're talking about people who are being deported from the United States.
All right, just hold on there. I'll see if we can get back to that. Yes.
Not all of those people are necessarily unsavory characters, but let's be honest. To be deported means there is some element of you which was not following the rules, which meant to bend the rules, or there's some other obvious or latent or minor or major criminal activity as defined by the laws of the country that you're involved with. In other words, you may not have the best moral character. Now, we have seen that with the importation, for example, or the return of many deportees from places like
what's going on here?
Like Guadeloupe and other parts of the Caribbean or other countries, that a lot of those people have actually been hardened criminals. And they have imported into the country not only themselves, but a certain mindset and a certain approach to criminality, even things like casually assassinating people. That they have brought in a certain mindset. We know for sure that this has happened with many of the deportees from Guadeloupe into Dominica. That is actually a training ground for a higher level of criminality and a higher level of violent crime in our country. That not only affects themselves, but others who are inspired by them, others who are instructed by them, others whom they collaborate with, and it has ratcheted up the criminal capacity in our country. Now, I'm not saying necessarily that these people coming in are necessarily so, but the risk of such a thing exists. Even if it has to do with white-collar crime or other more subtle crimes that some of those people may have been involved in, we are risking bringing in individuals who can heighten, enhance, tutor the crime types, level, capacity in our country. And I'm not putting a blanket condemnation on all these people, but the very fact that the threat of this, the possibility of it exists, requires serious national discussion and consideration. And whether or not whatever benefits Roosevelt Skerrit is getting from this mitigates and justifies that risk exposure. Further, by us taking that stance to accept that the United States is allowed to use the Caribbean as a region, as a dumping ground, as a second class, as he likes to call it, one of his shithole countries, that he can use to get rid of elements that he doesn't want in his country. It's like saying we will allow the United States to dump its toxic chemicals and its radioactive materials that its people would not tolerate in its country, to dump it into our waters. But it's the same principle at work. We are admitting, we are allowing, we are collaborating to turn our region into a disposal unit for the United States. Is that the sort of right philosophy, direction, pride of our civilization that we want to embark upon in this era? Is that the sort of geopolitics that we have embarked upon? And finally, Matt, let me say this. All of these things that we are dealing with now is a direct result of this government's actions, irresponsible, thoughtless, uneducated actions that it has taken in the past that has brought us here we are today. So no actions that this government is taking, no action that Roosevelt Skerrit is taking should be praised for trying to get us out of this dilemma that he caused. It is 25 years of this foolishness that has brought us here we are today, and many of us have wondered about it for years, decades even. So here we are with the fruition of decisions that has been made by this government recklessly in the cover of darkness to allegedly enrich and enhance the power and wealth of a few individuals. That is where we are today, man. And that is why this decision is not just about refugees or deportees. This is a decision about our fundamental fight for the soul of our island, the fundamental fight for our civilizations as Dominican, the fundamental fight for how are we going to continue to let people like that destroy something generations of Dominicans have fought to build. Thank you, Matt.
That was Mr. Bernard Ito, leader of the Dominica Freedom Party. I haven't heard the next voice a little while.
But,
Yeah.
you know, it is interesting that we have, you know, arrived at this juncture in our political life, because time and time again, we have been reminded that this government has shown no transparency in the running of this country, and they've not been accountable to the people of Dominica. And so it's unfortunate that we have found ourselves in another place where, again, that some form of imposition is being taken on Dominica, whereby to accept, you know, a core of persons we don't know about, their culture, their history, their backgrounds, where they come from, the language that they speak. We just don't know. Notwithstanding, we have to recognize as a nation too, though, that the framework of refugee and asylum laws in Dominica is rooted in both, you know, its historical context and international obligations. However, as a member of the United Nations and a signatory to various international treaties, Dominica is obligated to recognize and protect individuals fleeing persecution or armed conflict. Let us be real. I just mentioned fleeing persecution. The persons who have been identified to come to Dominica, are they fleeing persecution? No, they're in Great America. They are in Great America. Are they fleeing armed conflict? No, they're in Great America. So why? Why is it that this sort of position has been forced upon Dominica? And when you evaluate further, you must recognize as well, as a small island state in the Caribbean, our approach to refugees has evolved, balancing national interests with humanitarian responsibilities. These people, it is not known that they have been experiencing some flood and that they are nearby in our jurisdiction and that we'll accept them because for temporary time, so that we can house them, feed them under certain conditions given to us and under certain, you know, sort of help that we are going to get to aid the whole process. This is not the case. And remember too, in terms of the categories of residency that we have, you have citizens by birth or descent. That is documented in our laws. You have nationalized citizens. You have permanent residents. You have temporary residents. You have regional residents, like you talk about CARICOM and persons and the free movement of people. That we know for sure with respect to the different categories of residents that we have in Dominica. We can make some allowance. The people that are hoping to be imposed on us in our country, we don't know where they come from, and they fit under none of these category of residents. So, Matt, the question begs, is that a situation for Roosevelt Skerrit and Roosevelt Skerrit alone? Or is it a concern for Dominicans? Because it doesn't seem that there is any transparency with respect to what is going on. There is no parliamentary oversight, no parliamentary approval of such thing. We've only heard this movement in a press conference. So the question that everyone will be asking, is that a situation to save Roosevelt Skerrit and Roosevelt Skerrit alone? Or has that decision been taken in the interest of Dominicans? I believe Dominicans would like a fair and justified and rational explanation of this behavior, and it cannot be gone unnoticed. This government has to explain to us. The Prime Minister must come clean with the people of Dominica.
Thank you.
Man, have a great day. Thanks for the good work that you do.
It is our first WNQ show for 2026, and we continue to engage with our local, regional, and global Q family listeners and friends of Dominica at home and abroad. With me Tuesday night is Justice Dr. Irving Andre, Social Scientist Simeon Joseph, Pastor Dr. Randy Rodney, Mr. Claudius Sanford, retired ASP Nicholas George, and former Dominica UN Ambassador Crispin Gregoire. We will discuss national security and administrative accountability, crime and small arms proliferation, border security and police integrity, societal norms and tolerance which breed crime and undermine social stability and national security, and the implications for Dominica and the Caribbean of the U.S. invasion of Venezuela. So here are some issues and questions that we hope to deal with. Is there effective national security and accountability in Dominica? Is crime and small arms proliferation now rampant in Dominica, considering there were 24 homicides in 2025? Is there a problem with border security and police integrity in Dominica? Have societal norms and tolerance in Dominica been fostering crime and undermining social stability and national security? Do the government's policies reduce gun proliferation? Has the government held anyone accountable for importing drugs? Has enforcement of gun legislation in Dominica been successful? If not, why? What is the way forward? Is the government willing to take the guns from the little snipers? Is gun violence being used to intimidate persons opposed to the regime? However, as we begin, we will briefly look at the implications of the U.S. invasion of Venezuela and the capture of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife. What does governance of Venezuela look like going forward? Who is now in charge in Venezuela? And what are the implications for Dominica and the Caribbean? So tune in Tuesday night with Global View on Q, 8 to 8 p.m. for more.
Somebody buy blue water. Somebody bring blue water. Somebody get blue water. Ready now. When you feel the man, take up the water spray. If you need your man, take up the water spray. Take up the water spray. Keep up the water. Keep up the water. Keep up the water. Somebody buy blue water. Somebody bring blue water. Somebody get blue water.
Locally distributed by Fine Foods Inc.
The United States and the Congo Dominica has entered into an agreement to facilitate third country refugees to be sent to Dominica to mitigate scenarios where the United States cannot return these individuals to their state of birth or origin. In our discussions with the State Department, there have been careful deliberations of the need to avoid receiving violent individuals or individuals who will compromise the security of Dominica. This has been acknowledged and well received by the State Department. Given the importance of bilateral relations between the United States and the Congo Dominica, I, as Prime Minister and Head of Government, believe it is important to find key points of agreement and compromise between our countries. This engagement is based on our responsibility to safeguard the well-being of our people, particularly the access to lawful travel, education, employment, and family connections, while strengthening cooperation between our two governments. I believe this will further deepen our long-standing relationship and signal clearly that Dominica remains a willing and reliable partner of the United States in our region. Let us, as we start this new year, we must choose steady reflection, not heightened emotion. This is a time for clear thinking, not division. Our country has faced challenges before, and we have always met them with resilience, dignity, and a deep sense of responsibility to one another. Let us begin this new year by lowering the temperature of our national discourse, choosing calm over conflict, and remembering that we are strongest when we stand together. This new year must also renew our shared commitment to nation building, above and beyond political or personal differences. Political views may differ, but our love for country must remain greater than any division.
DJ Slim presents Drink with Intent, the ultimate one silent headphones party, Volume 2. Featuring Dominica's finest, DJ Snow, Selector Urban, DJ Red, DJ Flip the Boss, DJ Day, Mika Labadie, DJ Ati, and DJ Slim. After party with Aunt Willa's YouTube sensation, DJ Styles, Your Barbie Faithy, and Dominica's world touring DJ MJ. It's all going down at the Realm, January 17th from 9 p.m. Admission, early bird $60, tier 2 $80, and tier 3 $100. Tickets sold at Cozy Corner or online at ticketball.com. Drink with Intent, the ultimate all-white solid headwood party volume 2. It's gonna be crazy. This event is sponsored by Belfast Estate, Amy Brown, Discover Dominica Authority, Southern Lakes Hotel, Big W, Research IGA, Milwaukee, Ritz Limited, Serrano, Hennessy, Malibu, KFC, DJ Median, K-Bits, Vibes Radio, Humble Visual, Master Fan, Magnum Tonic Wine, Chef Ali, GBA Enterprises, OT Rum, Chimman's Reserve, DDA Styles Travel, The Realm, Cozy Corner, The Vibe, High Garden Limited, Mika's Courtyard, Rika Henderson Inc., One Thames Bar and Grill.
So many people want to chime in on that discussion here. Here's another opinion. Let's think for a moment that the Trump administration may be setting up Mr. Skerritt for failure, knowing the Dominican population will not accept that high-handed approach. Therefore, the U.S. might be banking up on us to get rid of Mr. Prime Minister. That's just an opinion again, huh? Once that is done, it will be easier for them, the U.S., to pick him up, but the population rejects him. I think using that strategy to avoid the risk of coming for him as a sitting head of state, as they did for Maduro, will avoid them facing further world criticism. Once he falls for it, it'll be much easier to pick him up, avoiding the need to come for him as they did for Maduro in Venezuela. Do not test or underestimate the CIA and the operatives. My brother, that's just another perspective. Remember, the U.S. Embassy listens and records your program. Just another opinion. Hello, talk to me, 232. Talk to me, yes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you, sir.
And Dominica by extension. This is
Yes.
Bernard Monroy. This is just my name clearly.
Mm-hmm.
Can you remember there was a time when this crime minister said that a particular drug man was his friend?
I remember that, yes.
You remember that? You was part of you sort of defending it?
Yeah, I said he said he went to a funeral of a drug dealer that was his friend, and I said that I see nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, but bro, birds of the same kind of feather, they flock together. You understand it? And if Mr. was his friend, I, Bernard Morrow, think that he have many more friends, and the story will come out shortly. Yeah, I'm of the opinion that there's a real story to come out behind that. All right?
So you're basically saying that you think the Prime Minister will be indicted?
Most definitely.
Okay, thank you very much. Again, another opinion. But I heard the Prime Minister saying he's not involved, and any of his government ministers is not also not involved in drugs, huh? So his word against yours, right? He also said that he's following the indictment just like everybody else. So let's see what comes up. As I read to you earlier, the stories that Caribbean politicians allegedly may be implicated in the U.S. indictment for Maduro. If you want another read of that story, I'll do that for you right now. Several Caribbean politicians are alleged to have been implicated in a sweeping United States federal indictment targeting Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, according to a court report, or court documents filed in New York. The indictment, which forms the basis of Maduro's capture and transfer to the U.S. custody, alleges that senior figure within the Venezuelan government operated a state-sponsored narcotics network that relied on cooperation or corruption across the Caribbean, Central America, and beyond. The story continues. U.S. prosecutors claim that cocaine traffickers moved drugs from Venezuela towards the United States and paid bribes to politicians along key transit routes, including the so-called Caribbean routes, in exchange for protection from arrest and the freedom to operate with impunity. While no Caribbean official are named in the indictment, the documents allege that political figures in the region benefited financially from this drug-fueled cooperation. According to the indictment, Maduro and the members of his inner circle used state resources, including military escorts and diplomatic passports, to facilitate the movement of large quantities of cocaine while collaborating with violent international drug cartels. That's the story. On the telephone, hello, talk to me. We have to watch very closely. Who are these Caribbean officials? Hello, talk to me, politicians.
Hey, Matt.
Yes.
As we continue, as this discussion continues, more and more things are coming alive, and there are certainly many, many more questions than answers. Matt, I have a couple of questions. I don't expect you to answer them, but, one is thinking, when that situation all started, from this morning's discussion, did you hear any serious agreement or person with any serious agreement with what our Prime Minister is seeking to do?
No, I haven't heard anybody, agree to that.
There you go. From my listening, 100% of the people, Dominicans who voiced their opinions, made it very clear that this is not something that they approve of. They are saying to the Prime Minister, Mr. Prime Minister, not a chance. This is not a good thing. In his press conference, there is a part where he said about we should have calm heads or something like that. Right, Matt?
Yes.
Right, with calm heads. Well, I would say that after 2 days, since he said that, thereabout, we have a situation where every single Dominican who cares to speak and voice an opinion on this is saying to Mr. Skerritt, do not do this thing. It is wrong. And I have a question to Mr. Skerritt. If you know, Matt, you might tell me. Seeing as how he's got this big arrangement to bring these quote-unquote refugees at the expense of someone, certainly not at the expense of the refugees. My question is, and also given that a number of people are being deported or scheduled to be deported from America, there's a lot of them in custody already. You would know, Matt, you're a guy who frequent the United States, unlike me. there's number of Dominicans included that are being held, waiting to be repatriated to their homeland.
Of course, in the last we heard about that, it was over 103.
And some of them have already been repatriated. You mentioned, I heard you mention one who is, what is he? Some other guy, but not some of the
Syrian national.
There you go. But he repatriated Dominica. So going with your 103, if we have 103 Dominicans that are waiting to be, they're held and waiting to be repatriated, to be sent back to Dominica. If we cannot say no to our Dominicans, let's put it this way, right? Emma, do you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, if we cannot say no our we cannot accept our Dominicans. So Dominicans ought to come first. So Mr. Skerritt must let us know that 103 and any more that exist. How are we going to deal with those relative to the what they call let's call them deportees, whatever they call them there?
Mm-hmm.
How are our Dominican nationals? What arrangement is there for them? And one question is, will they be getting the same quote unquote benefits, or will the arrangement be the same for our local Dominicans that are being sent back to Dominica as it's going to be for those quote unquote refugees that are coming here, which as far as we understand and common sense tells us, those people will have to be given all kinds of subsistence allowances to exist here for whatever period of time. Will our Dominicans be faced with that? And I will conclude by...
But we cannot afford that, Kola. We cannot afford that. And given the state of the economy, we will not be able to afford that.
There you go. So it is so obvious to all of us. And Mr. Skerritt have all guys with master's degree and whatever else doing their accounting and so on. They must be able to show him that we cannot afford that. And so I am saying...
Unless I can add that there, I can put an injection there, unless there's an economic package attached to that agreement.
There you go. Absolutely. So I am saying on that basis, Mr. Skerritt, it is very clear that Dominicans are not in favor of this. And if you proceed further, you will be clearly indicating to us that you do not give, if I can say a damn, about what we Dominicans think. And if this is the case, we Dominicans need to stand up, stand strong, push back against Mr. Skerritt. I heard the caller said before, nobody looking to fight, nobody looking to... No, we just need to make it abundantly clear to Mr. Skerritt that that decision, we're not going to wait till he takes it, that decision must not be taken, and we Dominicans must make sure that Mr. Skerritt does not allow this to happen. Because if he goes ahead against our will, we are not going to stand up and cooperate with those people he's bringing. And so Trump and his administration might well know that we in Dominica, we will not accept those people under any condition so he can do what he wants with Skerritt. It might well lead to another big problem for America here in the Caribbean, a bigger one maybe, or as big or clearly close to what they're dealing with in Venezuela. Thank you very much, brother.
There's so many phone calls at this time, huh? Dominicans are very passionate about this subject for sure. Hello, talk to me, yes, quickly.
Hello, good afternoon, Matt.
Good afternoon to you, sir.
Matt,
yes.
There was some years back, Lennox Linton, Angelo Allen, and the so-called was telling us where we were heading to with the passport. The last information I know that I got from Lennox, it was to do with how many passports that were sold. And then the Dominica government clarified, yes, it was sold. Matt, you know, the last time it was about 50,000 passports.
That's over 50, about 51, yes.
About 51,000. Matt, you know, Dominica is not the only country that's selling passports like that. So between Dominica and the rest of the countries that have been selling passports in that level, you don't believe we're close to 1 million passports sold already?
You mean between the different countries?
The CARICOM countries that is selling the passports.
I don't know. Well, I'll have to do some research on that. Yes, I can do some research on that.
Matt, OECS, when you are a member of OECS, it means that my passport for Antigua, I could come to Dominica anywhere because it's like one cabal. All of us is one heading. They consider us under the same heading then. So if you enter as a Dominican, you're good as a Dominican. As an Antiguan, as a St. Kitts and Nevis, is CARICOM then, a CARICOM citizen. We have that passport. But you know the number of passports that is sold, and these people are now not refugees, you know. They are deportees to go back to their country of origin. The country of origin is the CARICOM countries. But you don't realize that our ministers, when they sit, our prime ministers, when they sit down with Trump government, under the regulation that they were putting them under, it's like they were not sure to even go back home because they could lock them up immediately for the crime that they have. Trump and them have the number of people that only sold passports to out of an underpriced, low, all kind of nonsense. When our prime minister come back and say they sign to take refugees, it's not refugees, they call it refugees because it's all different nominations, all people from all different names of countries. That is under the citizen, the economic citizenship passport. They never put $1 in Dominica. They pay to the agents and the government people that pick up the money. But the Dominican public haven't benefited anything from them. But we're going to have to suffer the grunt of that return. Now you see the Guadeloupe we have just next to us there. A number of times people that go to Guadeloupe, a number of them is the bad characters. They take a small boat and they go down there. When you meet people in Guadeloupe talking about Dominicans bad, one or two telling you, say, because Dominica have good people. So what is going to come to us is bad characters. I don't know what we're going to do, Matt. Dominica must take that more serious than we're taking it. I've given you that info at that level.
All right, caller. Thank you. Let's take a few more calls there. Please try to make the contribution a little short so we can allow a few more callers to call because every line is ringing here this afternoon. This is a talk on the block. We expect that. But Dominicans are very furious about this situation. We refugees coming to this country. Hello, talk to me on the telephone. Yes.
Matt, can you get one of your colleagues to go around with a recorder and record the people interview? Just a quick question. What do you think about that matter?
Yes.
Matt, that line is burning from the beginning to the end, and I can't get through, Matt. I finally did. Let me just be quick, Matt. But you know about Bear Rabbit and Tar Baby?
I heard about that, yes.
Because Bear Rabbit think it is the smartest animal that ever lived until somebody set a Tar Baby for you. Now, the billions of you made from passports, not all, you scare it. I know it's all you. No, that is your Tar Baby, my brother. And you can't detach, you can't disassociate yourself from the woes of what is happening presently. Matt, I'm glad that Simeon Joseph talk about it after him saying it for you. Scare it is me, my I. That's a name the Chinese give him. Me, myself, and I. The man is talking about his mutual agreement with America, and he as the prime minister, not the country, not the government. That's how, reckless and ruthless and senseless Skerrit is, Matt. So all those who fought years ago, Matt Pelt, Angelo Allen, Sheridan Gregor, Lennox Lincoln, Blessings with his big mouth, Afi Mate, all we were doing is try to bring down the country with our mouth, Matt. Remember 2017, he was speaker and a sound system, Matt? UWH tried to overthrow the government. And for years, we're trying to to destroy the country with our mouth, not with what Skerrit and them is doing. Because I get in late and in the interest of time, I just want to conclude here. Matt, we are all in the same boat, whether red, blue, green, yellow. All the one we were born in Dominicans. And Matt, before you go, can you play that song from Dice for me? Give thanks to Pat and Dice. Decale. They just come to Decale. One of these days, Decale go Bronx back and Decale them. We all in the same boat, Matt. Thank you.
Thank you. Everybody's trying to get a piece of here this afternoon. It's 2:49, 11 minutes. I'll give you a few minutes more, but let's see if we can be quick there. Hello, talk to me, yes?
Yeah, Mark, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you, Brother Zed. How are you doing?
Mark, yeah, good. I want to reconnect yesterday to today, Mark. And just bear with me. Yesterday, there's a brother came on there about the one his son died and, from Malik and everything. And then you gave him the advice of getting in touch with the Prime Minister. You said you were going to send the stuff, make sure the right people get it. Then there was press court from before. Everything was about going to talk to Skerrit. Press court could have gotten $1 million. You're going to end up getting pocket change during Skerrit and Skerrit. Mark, you guys are setting the precedent that Skerrit is the control of the girl. You guys have part of that problem in the way. Always call for agreement to Skerrit. Agreement is supposed to go to the court, or you tell him, man, go and talk to Skerrit. Skerrit is not board in Dominica, so that's why he can go and do what he wants. It's a personal agreement with the government of America. And it's because part of that problem is Dominicans. We keep treating Skerrit like he's God. A parliament meets twice a year. Nobody's making noise about that. Twice a year, just sign a check for Skerrit to spend. So we have already given him that kind of mindset that he is God in Dominica. He can do what the hell he wants. You understand? And I applaud Brother Simeon for speaking. I want him to do more than speaking. Let's build that movement because it's time to start challenging this goddamn Prime Minister. And Matt, I'm not telling you, please, Matt, please, even if it's once a month, Matt, start to raise a little money because it's going to get expensive to remove the dictator, Matt. Please. God bless.
God bless you, my brother. God bless you. It's still 2:51 in the afternoon time. Let's see if we can take more phone calls. The line rings every second. Inundated with phone calls. Are you there, caller? Sorry if I can't take yours.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
Matt.
Yes,
Yeah, Matt, the first time Skerrit raised that question about bringing in people, it was about people from Gaza.
Mhm.
Remember, Matt?
I remember that.
Yes. So now, is it from people from Gaza? Is it people that had Dominican passports and that they are sending them back? Or is it any old body that America doesn't want? Mr. Skerrit needs to tell us that. At least he needs to tell us that. Because when these people come here, are they going to be permanent residents? Are they going to be here temporarily? If they are Commonwealth citizens or were Commonwealth citizens, they will have a right to vote in Dominica, Matt. You realize that?
Mhm.
So, Matt, there's all kinds of implications.
So you're looking for clarification. That's what you're looking for,
Well,
clarification.
yeah, because he's been very vague. Matt, when these people start having children, what will be the status of these children? Well, again, how long are they going to be here? That's an important question. And on it goes. You can see that Roosevelt Skerrit has not given this much thought. The man is shallow, or he does not care, or he's been set up for a double whammy by the CIA. Setting him up so that his people will reject him on one level, or setting him up that they will pay him directly and he will not tell us. He will keep the money and then they will use it as evidence against him. So either way, he's been set up, Matt. But from our perspective, we want all the information so that we can decide really or not why we don't want those people here. Thank you.
All right, caller, thank you very much. It brings us to another point here, another opinion. We do not have a Freedom of Information Act in Dominica. We cannot even go to the court to request or demand the contents of the agreement that was signed with the U.S. Good point. The last time I had the opportunity to address a Labour Party meeting there as it relates to Rosie Douglas, I did ask, that we pass the Freedom of Information Act in Dominica and do that very quickly. Hello, talk to me on the telephone, yes?
Hello.
Hello, yes, sir.
Yeah, Matt. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you, yes.
I just
wanted to make a point.
Make a point.
Yeah. This is, in my mind, a quid pro quo. When the President of the United States started his immigration deportation program, he asked for countries to basically volunteer to accept people from countries other than their own. And the feedback was not so good. So I feel that what he did was to go ahead and put that visa restriction on Antigua and Barbuda and Dominica. And then people ask, why not the other 3 islands? It is because he thought that it's easy to get them to cave in. So now you get pressure from your citizens, and now you got to come to us and say, yes, we will accept people. This is the very United States president that said, we are shithole countries. He called people from Somalia and other countries garbage. So that is what he's doing. He's dumping whatever he doesn't want on us. Why? Because we have no power. They have economic, military, and other powers. So that is what is happening. It has absolutely nothing to do with Mr. Skerritt's influence or lack thereof. My problem with Mr. Skerritt is that he takes all decisions on his own without informing the people, like the international airport, like this. These are major national decisions that need the input of our people. And if you take a survey of the phone calls and the comments that come from those who are concerned, you will find out that the majority of people are against that. But yet, one man decides, I, as head of government, is making that decision on behalf of the people of Dominica. Thank you.
All right, caller, thank you very much. I think Mr. Bird, the Prime Minister of Antigua, Mr. Brown, just issued a statement as it relates to this agreement to bring in refugees. It reads, the government of Antigua and Barbuda considered it appropriate to clarify the facts regarding the engagement with the United States on the possible acceptance of very limited number of third country nationals, including refugees. So Dominica and Antigua is facing the same problems. In the interest of accuracy, transparency, and public confidence, the government sets out below the relevant facts and context. Antigua and Barbuda has not entered into any binding agreement with the United States to accept deportees for refugees that exists in a non-binding memorandum of understanding proposed by the United States as a part of global efforts to share responsibility for refugees already present in its territory. Antigua and Barbuda was approached by the United States along with more than 100 governments worldwide, including several within the Caribbean community, CARICOM, to consider this non-binding arrangement. The United States is today the country that hosts the largest number of refugees from across the world, individuals who cannot be returned to the countries of origin because doing so would expose them to serious harm, persecution, or grave reprisals. In response to this humanitarian reality, the United States has sought the cooperation of other governments to share the burden by accepting such criminal refugees by accepting such non-criminal refugees as they are able to do so safely and lawfully. Many countries have already agreed to this non-binding understanding. This is the understanding. Okay, so we'll follow that story. I'll try to see if we can make contact with our correspondent there, Sherman Bick, to tell us more about the agreement there, as you just heard from the Prime Minister of Antigua, Gaston Brown, sharing more information with his nationals as to why they'll be taking a limited amount of refugees in this country. Prime Minister Skerritt, I suspect you might need to be more transparent as Mr. Gaston Brown to explain further what is this agreement about. Because you see, the feedback at this time, there's nobody that have called this afternoon to support your policy. So please try to clarify what's really going on, as we just heard from Mr. Brown. On the telephone, hello, talk to me, yes.
Why do we have to go to another country to get some more reasonable explanation of this? You see, I mean, Roosevelt Skerritt must just resign and go home. We don't need this dictatorship nonsense. The man, just what you read there was more clear than anything Roosevelt Skerritt has said, Matt. You know, just and Gaston Brown is not the best. Don't get me wrong.
Right. Well, you provided more information.
Exactly. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you very much. On the telephone, 449-3095-96 and 97. Let's see if we can take a few more voice notes, and we're going to wrap it up this afternoon. Hello, talk to me.
Good afternoon, Matt.
Good afternoon,
Dominicans.
Yes, good afternoon to you.
Matt, I'm listening to Roosevelt Skerritt, and this man, I don't think he has good head, you know, Matt. Matt, this man has no moral authority to tell Dominicans when to calm down and how to behave. Because you know why? Roosevelt Skerritt, he constantly and continuously disrespects Dominicans. He continues to insult our intelligence. And then he turns around and tells us how to behave, how to respond to him. Well, no, sir. No, sir. You don't have that authority. Matt, the deportees Roosevelt Skerritt have taken illegally into the country, have decided to bring into Dominica illegally. He said it was a mutual agreement. I don't understand how it is a mutual agreement between he and the U.S. when those deportees are not even Dominicans. They are not his citizens, they're citizens of the country. So how you became involved in that when they are not even your citizens for you to talk about a mutual agreement? I believe Roosevelt Skerritt was forced into a position to take those rapists, the murderers, the gangbangers that Donald Trump called them, and to whom he said that, you know, they came from shithole countries run by shithole leaders, as Roosevelt Skerritt has proven himself to be by accepting those rejects of the USA, Matt. Skerritt said, Matt, he bypassed his cabinet, you know, on holding the discussions. He had high-profile discussions without even including his cabinet, without discussing it in cabinet. But, you know, when you look at his cabinet again, Matt, is a cabinet of cheap fouchetteries. That's what they are. So, of course, he could not have discussions with them. And the media sat there and they did not ask Roosevelt Skerritt, who were those high profilers that he had been talking to? So they sought no clarifications on behalf of Dominicans. And I'm watching these people, especially the Pocham-faced lady, the education minister, dumb as a post, and the other dumb skulls clapping like they have no intelligence, they have no worth, no capacity. They sit there like dotards clapping and not even realizing that this man has just insulted them. This man just went over their heads. Matt, Roosevelt needs to tell us the reason why he dropped that in there, you know. Because in the midst of the discussion, all the discussion with Maduro, that serious discussion at hand with Maduro that ties him directly to Maduro, you come up with that how you call them, the deportees and the asylum seekers into Dominica. So what does he have to say about the proclamation on the visa ban? Is it still news, as I heard him said, Matt? He said that something was yesterday's news. But Dominicans are affected right across the board. Matt, which country and leader that baptized Roosevelt Skerritt in Alba, suddenly he's the friend of America? Matt, you know what Alba is? The Bolivarian Alliance of Latin America, where Roosevelt Skerritt talked tough against America, where his president recently, that gave her right to call America a bully. Matt, is in that same Alba Alliance where Roosevelt Skerritt spoke and acted like a dictator. The dictator where he crushed democracy in Dominica. He curbed freedom of speech in Dominica. He arrested and jailed persons of dissenting voices, the opposition. He used the court system and the police to brutalize and persecute dissenting voices, Matt. Just like what you see happening in those countries that he was part of, that he is part of, America's enemies. Now the US has neutralized the growing power of Caribbean alliance with Maduro, interwoven with China, Russia, Colombia, Iran, and all America's enemies. Roosevelt Skerrit has decided to place himself at the feet of Donald Trump, who only sees him as a shithole leader from a shithole country and one that really needs to be arrested, just like Maduro. But look at the Chinese have the biggest embassy in Mont Daniel next to Roosevelt Skerrit's mansion, where he bleeds the taxpayers of Dominica to pay $64,000 a month for him to live in his own home. Matt, where Skerrit has brought Dominica today, if Dominica was a real country, he would have been sitting in a jail cell at one of the jail cells at Stock Farm. But we know that's not going to happen, Matt. In the same manner, we know and we have seen that there's no dictatorship anywhere in the world that is being taken down by democratic votes, Matt. Roosevelt Skerrit is a corrupt and dangerous man, and he will only be removed from office in the same manner Maduro was removed.
All right, caller, thank you. Thank you. 305, again, difference of opinions. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Somebody says, out of 193 countries in the United Nations, why Dominica and Antigua? If Zandoli was good meat, it would not be on the fence. Si Zandoli te bon vien, that's what. In my tongue, there's a little Creole. Huh? Thank you. If it was good meat, it would have not remained on the fence. Hello, talk to me. 306 is the after the time. This is the Talk on the Block. Don't forget the big Global View program tonight from 8 o'clock. Similar issues to be discussed right here on Q. More telephone calls. Yes, hello?
Matt,
yes.
I want to answer you that last question you asked there in 3 letters.
What's that?
Well, first of all, I'm a vegetarian,
okay.
So Zandoli will stay on the line. But what I'm saying is that CIA, capital C, capital I, capital A. That is why it's St. Lucia and Antigua. I mean, Dominica and Antigua. That's my answer to your question.
Okay, caller, thank you. Bro, I'm listening from 30,000 feet in flight. We are in trouble in Miami, Dominica, under this cabal. Thank you very much. On the telephone, somebody listening 30,000 feet above here, of course, on an airplane for sure. Hello, talk to me, yes?
Matt.
Yes, ma'am.
I like that name I hear, the Pocham Face Lady. I love that name. And then it thanks to the caller, the caller before the last. I love her speech. And Matt, Skerrit is afraid of Trump, so you have to kneel down when he say kneel down, stand up when he say stand up, run when he say run. Wicked. Thank you.
We're going to come back right after this. Yes, thank you.
This is our first Global View Q show for 2026, and we continue to engage with our local, regional, and global Q family listeners and friends of Dominica at home and abroad. With me Tuesday night is Justice Dr. Irving Andre, Social Scientist Simeon Joseph, Pastor Dr. Randy Rodney, Mr. Claudius Sanford, retired ASP Nicholas George, and former Dominica UN Ambassador Christine Gregoire. We will discuss national security and administrative accountability, crime and small arms proliferation, border security and police integrity, societal norms and tolerance which breed crime and undermine social stability and national security, and the implications for Dominica and the Caribbean of the U.S. invasion of Venezuela. So here are some issues and questions that we hope to deal with. Is there effective national security and accountability in Dominica? Is crime and small arms proliferation now rampant in Dominica, considering there were 24 homicides in 2025? Is there a problem with border security and police integrity in Dominica? Have societal norms and tolerance in Dominica been fostering crime and undermining social stability and national security? Do the government's policies reduce gun proliferation? Has the government held anyone accountable for importing drugs? Has enforcement of gun legislation in Dominica been successful? If not, why? What is the way forward? Is the government willing to take the guns from the little snipers? Is gun violence being used to intimidate persons opposed to the regime? However, as we begin, we will briefly look at the implications of the U.S. invasion of Venezuela and the capture of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife. What does governance of Venezuela look like going forward? Who is now in charge in Venezuela? And what are the implications for Dominica and the Caribbean? So tune in Tuesday night, the Global View on Q, 8 p.m. for more.
Whoa! It's all about Calypso quarterfinals on Saturday, 17th January 2026 at 8:30 p.m. at the Fraction Valley Road. 32 Calypsonians backed up by the Swingsters Band. Early bird tickets is only $30 online at Eventbrite. General admission $50. Sitting $60, VIP $100. Don't forget the date, January 17th, 2026 at 8:30 p.m. It's all about Calypso, Calypso, Calypso. Calypso quarterfinal, sponsored by Flo Dominica, Josephine Gabriel, Peter Water, Coca-Cola, and Nick India. Discover Dominica Authority, Jungle Bay, Domlet, Fresh Market, Do It Center, BB Rum, Big Edge, Perkins Pizza, ICWI, Vibian TV, Kyrie FM, BBS Radio, Vibes Radio, and QFM. There's man. You got to be there.
Dominica's got to go though. I'm leaving you with this one from the bootplay. Some pirates in the Caribbean. We've got to go. This is the Talk on the Block. Tomorrow, Wednesday. It was a pleasure leaving you with this one from Bootplay, Pirates of the Caribbean.
Of the movie, Pirates of the Caribbean. I say, my brother, with Hollywood actors, when the real pirates and them, they're right there. Just look in the Caribbean, man cast our politicians. Let us strictly Grammy winners on your hands. Yeah, man. They acting very well. Will make your move still. Be perfect for the past. Them fellas are no harm. They defy every day what the Bible say. That crime can never pay. They on the rain. And yes, they from the rain. They swan the rain.
Cayman. Yeah, man. In Cayman. Oh, yeah, man. I tell you, Cayman. Cayman is true. Yes, it's true. So don't let them fool you. And they go to Cayman. That city man, they go for the real What you doing? You want travel? Bring your camera.